Thank you, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for being here and take this opportunity, this privilege to be in the company of a great master. So, with that, I'm going to do my Pujya Gurudev, Swami Nityananda Giri, an accomplished yogi and a revered monk from Rishikesh. He is a Yogacharya and master in the tradition of Mahavatarvalaji's Kriyayoga, in the lineage of Lahiri Mahashaya, Sri Yukteswar, Paramahamsa Yoganand, Prabhuji Swami Nityananda Giri, and Paramahamsa Hariharananda. He has been teaching and initiating seekers to the Kriyayoga meditation techniques in India and abroad since 2005. It is Swamiji's mission to disseminate the knowledge he received from the great masters of the lineage and his own realization for the benefit of the mankind. Swamiji was born in a small village in Odisha. After earning a PhD degree in genotoxicity, he taught undergraduate and graduate students at the Regional Institute, Bhubaneswar, for a few years prior to renouncing the world and entering the Giri order of sannyas. Swamiji has authored an acclaimed book on Kriyayoga, which provides a clear exposition on the philosophy and practices of Kriyayoga, a breath-based meditation technique that is based on regulation of life force or Prana vidya. So the difference I just wanted to point out, I have read many books on Kriyayoga. The difference this book stands out is that because it touches the intricacies of the practice as well, and the basis on which the practice are based on, and how these practices lead one to God realization, and why they should lead you to God realization. All that, so he goes into details. That's the specialty of this book. So with that, I don't want to take away your time from Swamiji. Guruji.
Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu saviryam karavavahi tejasvina vaditamastu ma vidhisabahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Good day to everybody. As the topic is for the day is science of Kriyayoga and self-realization. Now, there are two things. What is Kriyayoga and what is self-realization? We will go to self-realization later. Let us first understand what is our understanding of self. What is our identity as a self? Say for example, presently, my identity is a speaker and your identity is a listener. Few minutes before, when you are driving your car, your identity was different. At your home, your identity was different. You were a mother, a father. If you have some phone call from your parents at the home, you become a child. Then you go to your job, you become a IT professional, a doctor, or an engineer, according to your profession. Sometimes you become happy, you're a happy person. Sometimes you become sad, you are a sad man or sad woman. Also you identify male, woman, Indian American, European American. You identify with your language. That means your identity, the present identity, is not one. It is multiple. And it changes. Changing each time. So where this identity lies? We are not going to be discussing here self-realization. We are discussing our present identity. Where this present identity lies? The present identity lies with body-mind complex. You are identifying with your physical body, and to this physical body, whatever is going on in your mind. Physical body is not that important. What is important is your mind complex. When I say mind complex, I am talking about your mind, your intellect, your ego principle, and your subconscious, all together. So whatever there is happening, say for example, you are now listening. Where you are listening? In your mind only. Ears are the doors. So now this listening is an activity in your mind. But now, maybe one of you not listening, preoccupied with some other thoughts. So whatever I am speaking, the person who is preoccupied with other thoughts will not be able to listen. Maybe somebody has some trauma. Now he or she is thinking about that trauma. Now that person becomes a sad person. So for him or her, the identity is that I am a sad person because of this and this. So whatever our identity is nothing, just an activity of our own mind. So our mind's activity gives us an identity. And this identity is changeable, changeable, and changeable. And all these, which is changeable, which is transitory, is not the real identity. Because this moment I am something, next moment I become something else, and the next moment I become something else. So that is why my real identity is missing. What I call as myself as a self is just a body-mind complex. Some activity of our mind, some ideas in our mind, that is giving us an identity, which is an imposed identity, a superficial identity, a changeable identity. But I as a person, or I as a person will not be a correct word, I as an entity remains the same. That means I am not realizing my real self. Who I am I, that I am not able to realize. And I will not be able to realize till I am with some of the activity of my own mind. In the words of yoga, this is called vritti. Vritti is a Sanskrit word, and normally it refers to the profession. Like the vritti of a doctor is to treat patients. The vritti of a teacher is to teach students. Means by doing which work a person sustains is called a vritti. This is the very general meaning. Now, by doing what our mind sustains, that is the vritti of the mind. Mind cannot sustain without some activity, without holding or without clinging to some object. So mind is always clinging to some object. Like now, my mind is clinging to the object of speech, what I am telling, and your mind is clinging to the listening to that speech. So mind always has some object, and till some object is there, till some activity is there in our mind, that will give us the identity. In the words of Rishi Patanjali, this is called vrittis harupyo mitaratra, in the fourth sutra of the first chapter. Means at other times, means he was describing samadhi. So when we are not in samadhi, at other times, our vritti gives us the identity. And that is not a correct identity. That is not a real identity. So to have the real identity, that is called self-realization. I should have my real identity. Now, one may question here, why should I have a real identity? What is the need? Need is, with our apparent identity, we are not happy. Sometimes happy is not a proper word, because happiness is always associated with sadness or sorrow. The real word is bliss. We don't achieve the bliss, the state beyond the dualities of pleasure and suffering. Because of sometimes we may feel ourselves as happy, but actually that is transitory. So what is transitory is that is not happiness. Say for example, I want to achieve something. For that I have to do hard work. That is called Tapah dukkha. Sufferings due to making the effort. So even if I am getting that, but I am not suffering. That is suffering. Similarly, there are other types of sufferings. The discussion will be very long. So I am making just a short. So whatever we do, even if we are getting everything correct, still then what we do is based on our nature, depending on the qualities of the nature, Prakriti. So these three qualities are called sattva, rajas and tamas. Sattva is the noble quality, the quality of knowledge. Rajas is the quality of activity, and tamas is the quality of sloth, ignorance. Now, any work is done is based on a quality. So when you do one work on the base of a quality, other quality is opposite. That is called guna vritti virodha. With other vrittis, other two vrittis opposing that vritti. So we are always with that, because that is the nature of this world. So whenever I am doing something, even if I myself say that I am feeling happy, but still then there is opposing factors within me, and I am not getting complete happiness. So that is why when I remain with a superimposed identity, happiness is eluded. There is no happiness. There is no bliss. Only when I have a state, when I stop all these vrittis, then whatever will remain is my real identity. To that, scripture saying this is consciousness. Normally in psychology, we call mind as a consciousness, intellect as consciousness, but in Vedic literature, mind and intellect are called as innate objects, not consciousness. Like we see moonlight, reflections in the night of moonlight, but we know that the moon don't have any light. It is reflecting the light of the sun. Similarly, mind and intellect, though behaving like consciousness, they are not consciousness. They are reflecting the consciousness. We call them as an anta karana, mind, intellect, ego and subconscious. Antakarana means instrument. These are inner instruments, like hand, leg, eyes, ears are outer instruments. Bahya karana, this is called antakarana, inner instrument. So this is an instrument only. We are using. The individual self is using it. Using is not a problem. Problem is ignorance. Due to ignorance, we identify ourselves with the intellect principle instead of identifying with the consciousness principle. So when we are not identifying ourselves with the consciousness principle, we identify with the intellect principle. That is called the I sense. Feeling of I, me and mine. Now this feeling of I, me and mine is the problem. What is the problem here? The problem is consciousness is infinite. Consciousness is vast. Consciousness is bliss. Consciousness is the truth principle. Now we are identifying with a limiting adjunct like intellect, mind and body. Once we identify with the intellect, with a limiting adjunct, now the vast thing appears to be constructed, to be limited, because we identify with this. This limitation causes the problem, because nature itself is vastness. Nature itself is expanding. So, when we identify with a limiting adjunct, we feel we are deficient. To overcome that, we want to expand ourselves, because our own nature is vastness. So what we do? Identity is wrong, so our expansion and the activities for the expansion will also be wrong. Now I say for example, I don't have a house. If I will have a house, I will be happy. I work hard, have a house, then finally I am not happy. I want a big business establishment. I do it, I achieve it. If I don't achieve, I am unhappy. I am telling, if I achieve it, I have everything, then I say other people are bigger than me. I still want to compete. I am not happy. Expansion is never complete in this world. Okay, I go to the top. Then there is always fear that someone else will compete and cross me. Still I am unhappy. Same for in each field. I want to control people. I want to have power, yield over others. Then I think politics is a good thing. There is power. I got to become the prime minister or president of some country. Say for example, most powerful country in this world, USA. Are you still happy? Anything in this world, since it is limited, it cannot give us happiness. Only happiness will give when you know your true self. That is the consciousness, the pure consciousness. Because that is the truth principle. That has no beginning, no end, no growth, no decay, no disease, no death. Anything in this world, phenomenal world, was with these six things. Only other than the consciousness. Vedic science calls it as a Brahman, Atman, in various words. Simply they call it Sat Chit Ananda, truth principle, the pure existence principle. Now, to describe the pure existence principle, they tell it consciousness, Chit. Then, what is the nature of that Chit? Is Ananda, bliss. Until and unless we find ourselves. Now, I describe it, or you read it, most of you also read it, but why you are not establishing? Because reading it or listening it gives us only an intellectual knowledge. And that intellectual knowledge is not a embodied knowledge. And that does not work when we are in need. I know. Every day someone is dying. I see. Death is a reality. But when somebody, our own, related to the body dies, what happens to us? Does that knowledge work? All your spiritual knowledge will go up the roof. Happens with everybody. Because we have the knowledge, but that is the intellectual knowledge. We don't have the knowledge, embodied knowledge. We need embodied knowledge. We need our real identity. We need self-realization. Know who am I? From where do I come? And where do I go? That is the question of the basics of the philosophy. Why there is so much suffering in this world? Is it possible to overcome these sufferings? And we try to solve it by science, by economics, by giving different philosophies. All are trying to solve this problem. Maybe having some different scientific innovations, we find we can solve it. We can have plenty of happiness. By economic principles, we think we can change the human life. Then some other people, they give philosophies. Try to explain it. But then what happens? The adherents of the philosophies, they fight with each other. Which one is better? Because that is not a real knowledge. That is not a knowledge based on our own life, evolving through our own life process. So what has been happened at the beginning? That means identity with the intellect principle. Then that identity comes down to the mind. Then that identity comes down to the body. Now we have become this body. The cause is ignorance. That ignorance is to be removed by a practice. So for that, what is our problem is our present identity. Present identity is based on the activities of the mind, the vrittis. We have to stop that. That means mind is holding some object. If I stop holding all these objects, then whatever remain, that is you. Buddhists call it a void. Those who are the adherents of Buddhism, they call it a void. There is nothing. Vedanta concedes, no, not a void. That is Purnam, absolute, totality, consciousness, pure consciousness. Because we don't have to go into the arguments with the philosophy, as I said. Because if you are speaking the same thing, means a person with realization only knows. One who is self-realized, he only knows. One who is not self-realized, since this has to be explained in words, words cannot properly explain. That is the problem. In Kathopadishad it is said, Gato vacha nivartante aprapya manasasa. From where mind returns, along with the speech, without getting that. That means our intellect has no reach to that principle, and our speech has no reach to that principle. So how can I explain it that in speech? That is only to be realized. So to realize that, what we have to do, we have to go to a state when there is no activity in our mind. In Upanishads again said, Manasa no monote. You can't be able to know that through your mind. In the same Upanishad it is said, Manasa vadamatyam. Know it through your mind. Two contradictory things said, and both are correct. How? You cannot know it in a mind which has volitions, which has activities, which has vrittis. And you can know through it a mind which has no vritti, which is silent. Like you go to on the night, you put a water ball, water is still, you can find the stars, you can find the sky. Just drop a pebble, everything is very still. You can know through a mind which is still, which has no activity, which is completely calm, which is not holding any object. If you hold any object, if there is any activity, not possible to do. That is the practice. Self-realization means we have to know our true self, that is consciousness. We give a word consciousness, someone may say something else. That is not a problem. One may say void, one may say absolute. That is not the problem. What we have to know exactly what it is by our own process of learning, working with our own mind and intellect principle. That is what we have to do. That is self-realization. For that, first thing becomes the stopping of the chatters of mind. That is called yoga. Not that nowadays, to everyone, to someone you ask, I am doing yoga. What you are doing? I am doing yoga. What they are doing? Some physical exercises. That is called yogic exercises or dhyana. Even they are not doing the asana, the posture, yogic posture, because there is movements. That will give you good health. No problem. Good health means, why you are doing that? Because your identity is with the body. You need good health. You want to lose the weight. You want a fitness. Fitness training is not yoga. But we say nowadays. And to have good health is a very good thing. Nothing against that. But don't call it yoga. Of course, they are not calling it yoga, they are calling it yoga. I am doing yoga. Okay, that is what it may be. Thing is that we have to practice yoga. Practice of yoga is described by Rishi Patanjali as yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is nirodha of chitta vrittis. Now we have to understand what is nirodha and what is chitta vritti. Because yoga is nirodha of chitta vrittis. That is the definition. Now, here the word used is nirodha. In most of the commentaries in Yogasutras, they write it as a control. That is wrong. Rodha, the original word is rodha. Rodha means to halt, to stop. Prefix ni is used here. Simply stopping the vrittis is not rodha, is not to be done here. To differentiate, I give an example. Since I stay in mountains, that there is a mountain stream flowing and a big rock falls down. It stops the flow of the water. There is rodha. It halts. But waters can spill in any way. Another example, another thing is that we can construct a dam. We just stop the water. But constructing a dam to stop the water and just a rock falling arbitrarily to stop the water are the same. No. They are not same. Similarly, halting rodha and halting in a special manner, nirodha, are different things. In different times in our life, we have rodha of vrittis, stopping of vrittis. Every day it is happening to us in deep sleep. Then, after we get up from the deep sleep, we should have knowledge. But we are not having. Because that happens in tamas, happens in sloth. If same thing can be done in a state of awake, in jagrata, being fully conscious, then that will be done. What is happening naturally every day, maybe for 1 hour or 2 hours, that can be done if fully awake. Then, in quality of sattva, in quality of knowledge, then we can have the answer. We know who we are. So, nirodha of vritti is to be done. Nirodha of activities of, I was using the word mind, now mind word is not a proper word. Because mind does not fully express. The word here used is chitta. Vrittis of chitta. Activities of chitta. What is chitta? In yogic literature, we find the word of chitta. If we go to the Advaita Vedanta, normally they call it as Buddhisattva. We call chitta as greater. Means mind, intellect, ego is not a proper word. I can say I sense, feeling of I, me and mind, aham vritti. Aham is the word used. Ego in Sanskrit is called ahamkara. Means when the feeling of I and mind goes to the extreme end in a negative way, we call it ego. And subconscious, avachita. These four are generally called antakarana, and in yogic literature it is called as chitta. Normally to subconsciousness or avachitana is also referred as chitta, because that is the vast part of our mind stuff. We can use the word mind stuff for the chitta, but mind is not a proper one. So we have to stop the activities at all the levels. At the level of mind, at the level of intellect, at the level of ego principle or I sense, or at the level of subconscious. So, what are the activities? We have to understand all these things, all these principles. Mind means, we normally understand what mind is. One may not be able to give a definition of mind, but everyone understands. My mind is happy, I am unhappy. People say, I am angry, oh, I am in a lighter mood. Actually, taking that I am in, my mind is now going with the full sort of elevations of happiness. Whatever the thoughts process that is going on, when we know at the upper surface of chitta, that is called the mind. Mind is the first cognitive principle in your inner instruments. Means you are listening, here is the door, mind is the first cognitive principle, mind is knowing. You are seeing, mind is knowing. But so far the spiritual practice is concerned, the definition of mind is said by Bhagavapada Adi Shankaracharya as Manastu Sankalpa Vikalpana Devi. Mind is verily that which makes results and alternatives. You are here because you took a result that we have to go to listen to the Swamiji's discourse. Otherwise you could not have been here. You make a result. Means your mind decides. Simultaneously an alternative result appears. That is called alternative. What is the need to go there? I can go to that place where there is some music program, I can listen it. So always when our minds has a resolve, we create an alternative. That is natural process of the mind. Now this is called sankalpa and vikalpa. Resolve and alternative is the main work of the mind. It is the main work. Whatever we are today, we are due to that. All our personality is due to that. Reserve and alternatives. We can call it good, we can call it bad, but what we are is due to that. That is this upper surface. Where there are, if you take example of a sea, then where there are waves, the upper surface. On the shore we find very much waves. You can call that in our sea of Antakarana, the inner instrument, mind is that only, full of waves, full of disturbances, full of thoughts, full of activities. Below that is called intellect, buddhi. It is more circular than the mind. The buddhi is defined as buddhistu padartha adhyavasaya dharmata. Intellect is the one which decides the very nature of an object. Very nature of an object. Now this is a flower, this is a fruit. Mind takes the cognizance. Decision is taken by the intellect. This is a yellow flower, this is a red rose. Mind takes the cognizance. Decision given by the intellect. Now it is cold or it is hot. Sensation is carried by the skin to the mind. Mind knows the sensation, but decision is given by the intellect. On the basis of the decision created by the intellect, mind creates like and dislike. Then it becomes a problem. I want this, I don't want this. I like this, I hate this. I crave for this, I have aversion for this. This part of intellect is called sanskaraja buddhi. Intellect based on learning process, based on imprints. We are learning life after life. We are learning in this life. When you are a small child, you may have touched the fire by your finger. In our villages, we don't have that time electricity with the lantern. So a child has a normal nature to touch it. And a mother will always push the child not to touch it. But somehow child will not listen. How many times the mother may try? Finally, one day it will touch. Then it learns. No, I should not touch it. Then he knows in this process, whatever we are learning in this life and the previous lives, all are created our sanskaraja buddhi. Intellect based on the learning. And that makes the decision. But that is not the entire intellect. There is a part of the intellect is called viveka. Viveka buddhi. Discriminating intellect, because there is no other English word I have to use like this. Or I can call distinguishing intellect. It distinguishes right from the wrong. It distinguishes self from the non-self. It distinguishes eternal from the non-eternal. And within us, that is not powerful. Whenever we do something wrong, that tells us, no. But we don't listen. Then it stops. By practice of yoga, by practice of vritti nirodha, halting the activities of mind, that power grows within us. More and more our mind is violent, more and more our mind is full of activities, that voice is silent. More and more mind becomes silent, that voice becomes powerful. And all these are done due to presence of the ego principle. Ego is not a proper word, as I said, but in English when you have to speak, you have to use that. We call it aham. I sense, I can say better word is the I sense principle. Feeling of I, me and my I sense. Without that, nothing is possible. No activity of mind is possible. No activity of intellect is possible. Because to every activity, I is attached, me is attached, mine is attached. I am sad, I am happy, I am rich, I am poor, I am this, I am that, I am doing this, I am doing that. Whatever activity is going on, I is attached. That is why Ramana Maharshi always says, know that. If you know that, then you will be able to drop that without knowing that. In practice of yoga, when you reach the sixth stage of samadhi, asmita samadhi, then you have the full knowledge of that principle. How a wrong identity happens. Instead of identifying with the consciousness, due to ignorance, a wrong identity with the intellect principle happens. Once that has happened, next is asampragyat. All everything is stopped. And you are there with the consciousness principle. Then the subconscious. It is a vast river. It is the storehouse. You make a file, keep it in the memory. Another file, keep it in the memory. Another file, keep it in the memory. Whatever we are doing physically, whatever we are doing verbally, or activity or verbal activity, or whatever is your mental activity, all are stored in the subconscious. We are not deleting. We are keeping. If you start meditating, after some time, when you silence your upper mind, then you will find that it is propping up. Something happened to you before 40 years. Something happened to you before 25 years will come up. If that was good to you, you will be happy. If that was bad to you, you will be sad or angry. That is the nature. We call it a memory. It comes up. Something happened. It has gone. But our mind is not still clinging to it. That one which has given you more suffering, that will come up again and again. That one which has given you more happiness, that will come up again and again. That is the nature. So all the 4 levels of activities are to be stopped. Each activity is to be stopped. Each vrittis are to be stopped. Then only you will be established in yoga. Now to start practicing to stop these activities is called the practice of yoga. So when that will happen, you will be in your tadadrastu surupe avasthanam. When you see that, you are established in your own self, own form. That is self-realization. Then what you are, at that time you will know. Now reading the books, reading the philosophies, listening to discourses only gives an intellectual idea. You do not know. Since different rishis, different teachers at different ages spoken in different words, maybe to the same thing, and we don't know and we are fighting. So that I have to know on myself, on my own. Not that I have to believe something somebody had said. I believe means I make my mind condition. And whatever I am believing, because I am at a conditioning of my mind, I am with that. Do I know whether that is correct or wrong? I do not know. I simply believe because so and so has said so. Here, yoga is not a science of belief. Yoga is seeking. Yoga is trying to find out on your own. That does not say that we are denying what others had said. No. Others had said, Rishi Patanjali had said something, Vasishtha had said something, Vyasa had said something. I am not denying. I have respect to them. But I have to find myself. Until and unless I know myself, that is not my knowledge. That is the knowledge of those great people. It is just a knowledge for me that I have listened so and so, or I have read so and so. When I know myself by my own practice, then only that will be my knowledge. And that is what yoga teaches. We have to know your own self. Realize your own self by a practice in which you stop the activities of your chitta. And how we will do that? We have to do some practice. That practice is called Kriya. Kriya means action. Kriya means activity. Kriya means practice. We have to do something. That is why Kriya Yoga is the practice part of yoga. It is the practice part of yoga. First time in history, Kriya Yoga word was used by Rishi Patanjali in the first sutra of the second chapter. We said that this is Kriya Yoga. What is it, Kriya Yoga? First he gives a broad philosophical basis of this practice. Tapah, austerities, svadhyaya, self-study, Ishwara, panidhana. Knowing the principle called Ishwara. Tapah, svadhyaya, Ishwara, pranidhanani, Kriyayoga. These three. On the board basis it is said. What is Tapah? If we go on discourse, each one needs one session to explain. But in short I am telling, Tapah means those practices by which you achieve control over your mind and senses, sense organs and organs of action. Those practices, that can be Tapah. I am not able to control my hunger. I want to eat always. Let us fast once in a week or once in a fortnight on the day of Ekadasi. That becomes a Tapah. I am too fond of sugar. I want every day one Rasagulla. If I decide to stop it, that is a Tapah. Whatever my mind wants, my five senses wants, every day you are spending time. Nowadays, present day, the students, most of this time they spend with the internet, and that is becoming so alarming that in India I find that each year the best students are those who got the IIT. And each year you will find some news reports someone is committing suicide. Why? Because they are always with the WhatsApp, Instagram, all these things. Where is the time to read? Now such a person, for him what you have to do? You have to stop there. Read. Prana, Dhyana and Tapah. For students, study is their tapas. Austerities, practice of austerities. Without practicing austerities, if we leave our eyes, ears, hands, legs all wild, we cannot achieve. That is the first step. Then in the name of austerities, there are also some wrong practices. We have to understand what is the wrong practice and what is the right practice. In medieval age, some wrong practices started. Someone is not has control of the eyes, destroying the eyes. Someone is not control over speech, cutting the tongue. This type of practices, we find the historical examples. But these are not the correct practice. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna has clearly said, those who give pain by such type of practices, they are actually giving pain to me. They are not correct Tapah practices. You have to understand what is a correct Tapah. Sitting straight. No one wants to sit straight. You want to sit straight. Most of the people, they don't sit proper. So, when I sit proper, that becomes a Tapah for me. That is the reason we have asana. Tapah means heat. Tapah means heat, from heat. Because mind does not want that. It is like a heat to the mind. Then comes svadhyaya. Listening to discourses and reading the scriptures. Someone has written some book that does not become a scripture. Nowadays, many books are found which does not give correct information in the field of spiritualism. Wrong information. What is a scripture? Scripture is a one which has been given to us by a realized soul, by a realized rishi. Then only that will happen. That will come to the kind of a scripture, like Vedas, other scriptures. Bhagavad Gita is a scripture. Yogasutras is a scripture. Brahma Sutra is a scripture. Anything is written is not a scripture. So we have to do that, to read them. Why we have to read them? Because that will create an understanding of the practices what we are doing. Give us an understanding that what we should do and what we should not do. That will make an internal environment favorable towards the practice. Some people, when I was a student, I find that many of my friends, they finish one novel in a day. Every day they need one novel to read. What will happen then? What is a novel? Somebody told that what is a novel? One boy and two girls, or two boys and one girl, something happened between them, that is a novel. You read 100 novels, what is the gist? What is the gist? You read one novel, that is a novel. Maybe literary descriptions are different. That is a good creation, I am not saying. But your mentality will be like that. Your mentality will be like that. If you read horror story, one American man went to the ashram in Rishikesh and met me. And she said that, Swamiji, I want to meditate. You have learned meditation? Yes, I want to meditate with you. I took him to the meditation hall and said. Then he said, Swamiji, not possible to meditate. Why? Then this Hollywood villains are kicking me. Hey, you are in Rishikesh. The villains, they act in a movie. So how they are kicking you here? No, it is real. They are when I close my eyes and sit silent, they are kicking me. That means the entire life he has seen the horror villains. So what he will come to him? So modulation of mind becomes there. That is why to have a proper practice, we should read the scriptures. We should listen to the discourses of the learned people. But that is still an outer one. Bahya anga, outer limb. Inner limb is the yogic practices we do to know the self. That is called svadhyaya, reading the self. That we should do. Both. Not that we don't have to leave the outer limb. Now I want to practice yoga. Can I practice without my body? Body is not me, but I have to use the body. Body is the outer limb, outer organ. That we have to take help. Similarly, we have to take the help of both. Present day we find some of the yogis, not some, there are many, they say, no, I have not lost a book in my hand. Nobody has seen me reading. I got all my knowledge just sitting. What does that mean? What does that mean? What do you want to teach the people? Not to read and not to question him. If you don't read properly, then how you will have the proper understanding? Both are required. Reading the books, that does not mean that you will become a bookworm. Only reading books and reading books. Then that will simply, you will be doing intellectual gymnastics. You have to understand the principle. Then engage yourself in practice. And reading the scriptures will create a favorable environment for them. Then third thing is Ishwara panidhana. Normally translated as surrender to Ishwara. Surrender to Ishwara. What is Ishwara? First we have to understand. Patanjali says, klesha, karma, vipaka, asaya, aparamrushta purusha vishesha ishvara. Purusha vishesha, a special purusha. We are a purusha. I am a purusha, you are a purusha, she is a purusha. Why? Purena sayata iti purusha. One who resides in this house. One who resides in this house, that is purusha. It is not that a purusha does not say that it is male and female, no. That is not the real meaning. Purena sayati iti. So what is lying here? Consciousness. That consciousness principle is purusha. I am also consciousness. You are also consciousness. Everyone is also consciousness. But Ishwara is a special purusha. Purusha vishesha. Why? Because even if being a purusha, due to ignorance I am suffering. So I have a klesha, sufferings. One who has a klesha is not a special purusha. So what will happen here? These kleshas are generally five categories, not five. Kleshas are hundreds, thousands. 5 categories. The first category is ignorance, avidya. Second category is asmita, feeling of I, me and mine. Third is raga, cravings. Fourth is dvesha, aversions. Fifth is abhinivesha, fear of death. So we have all these sufferings because we are in ignorance. But that Purusha, to whom ignorance is not touched, ignorance is under him, that special Purusha is Ishwara. Since we have klesha, sufferings, what do? We try to remove that sufferings. So we make some activities, some karma, some actions. Since Ishwara has no klesha, action is not needed. He is not affected by the action. Now action leads to results of actions, fruits. That is called karma vipaka. Klesha, karma, vipaka, vipaka. Fruits of the action, results of the action. We are enjoying that in the form of pain and pleasure. If we have a good action, we have a good result. If we have a bad action, we have a bad result and sufferings. And we are enjoying it. And then asaya, imprint. All these are imprinted within our chitta, subconscious. So what happens? This imprint again triggers the action. Again triggers the desire, again action. Whatever happened like that. If we liked it, we want to achieve it again. If we disliked it, we try to prevent it again and again. So we are in this cycle. That is why we are not special Purusha. Though we are one with the special Purusha, still we are not, because of the limiting agents like our intellect, mind and body. And under the influence of ignorance. Since that is not with the special Purusha, that special Purusha is called Ishwara. Very simple example to visit that. Tell it in a very simple way. Individual consciousness is not Ishwara. Total consciousness is Ishwara. Individual consciousness is called Jiva. We are individual. Like this space. This space is one with the total space. It is not separated from the total space. But it is separated because of walls, roof and floor. Now it appears to us it's separated. Till that appearance is there, this is not one with the total. Even if it is one with the total. Because appearance is different. Though as an individual consciousness we are one with the total consciousness, still we feel we are separated. And that is why the cause is limiting agents, mind, intellect, body. And as a result of ignorance. With the Supreme, with the Ishwara, with the special Purusha, or we can say with the total consciousness, which we can call in English maybe cosmic consciousness, or even the consciousness beyond the cosmos. There is not all these things. So you have to know that. Once you have the knowledge of the totality, once you know that you are the sea, not a wave. What is your problem then? All the problem finished. A sea appears, in a sea, the wave appears, it may take a big form, then subsides, then finished. So now if your identity is with the wave, then there is suffering. If your identity, no, without the water is there a wave? There is not. You go to a water body, you see waves, you see whales, you see bubbles, you see various things. But all is due to the existence of the water. All are water only. Similarly, we are consciousness principle. We have to understand that, not by reading or listening, by practice. That practice is the Kriya. Once we understand that principle, then only we have the knowledge, then only we can surrender. Surrender to Ishwara is not a wrong statement, but that is subject to knowledge. If I don't have an object knowledge, now suppose you don't know me. Can you have an idea about me, that good or bad? Now you come to me, have a knowledge about me. Maybe for 1 hour you listen to my speech, then you say Swamiji is talking good or Swamiji is talking bad. That you will formulate an idea. Without knowing how you will tell. Similarly, without the knowledge of that principle, by practice, total surrender is just an emotion, not a surrender. We will have that once we know that. For that we have to go through certain practices. And coming to the practices, I can say, just remind me when there is a time.
It's 7:11. So you can go on for another. What do you think, guys? Everybody?
3-4 days.
Huh?
I'm okay.
Anyway, I'm trying to finish quickly. Say, for example, what we have to do, the major principal thing is to stop the vrittis. Okay? But we have thousands and thousands of vrittis. How will we stop them? And the nature of the mind is to remain with the vrittis. That is the major obstacle. Here in yoga, the technique is, first you fix your mind to one object. If you are able to fix your mind with one object, then other objects are not there. You can remove. My mind is going to the hundreds and hundreds of objects. If I am able to fix with one object, then other things are eradicated. Finished. I am with one thing. Now once that one is dropped, the work is done. Now fixing with one object is called Dharana. We have to fix your mind with one thing. In English we call it a concentration practice. We have to practice concentration with one object. And that concentration will gradually mature into meditation, Dhyana. From Dharana we will move to Dhyana. The difference between Dharana and Dhyana is very thin. Now I am making a Dharana on it. Then this may prop up. But in Dhyanam, I am one with this. Other things are not propping up. The examples given in ancient scriptures is that you pour a water. The flow of water is like Dharana. You pour oil. The flow of oil is like Dhyana. Means when oil is flowing, there is no disruption. There is complete continuity. While water, there is not complete continuity. This is the only difference. Now in dhyana, what happens? Within you, still there are three vrittis. You have an object of meditation. You exist as a meditator and the process of meditation. Three things are there. In Sanskrit, it is called dhyeya, dhyata, and dhyana. Dhyeya means object of meditation, dhyata, the meditator, and dhyana, the process. We say that I am with one, but actually I am three in dhyana. When this three becomes one, that means in your chitta, you do not exist as a meditator. Your identity merges with the object of the meditation, and the process stops. Only remains the object of meditation. That is the first step of samadhi. We call it savitarka samadhi. No English word for that. That is the first step of samadhi. In this way, when we reach at the seventh step, we have the knowledge of the self. That we have to do. That is the one. Now, what object to be taken for that? Different traditions have different objects. Those who are described in the scriptures, they are not wrong. I am practicing something. I cannot say that someone else is practicing something else is wrong. No. Maybe also practicing the right thing, but it is different. Here what we do is, we find that people are taking various objects. Someone is meditating on a deity. Maybe Krishna, maybe Shiva. We give a name. Meaning is something, but we give a form. So a name and a form. Or Devi. Someone else is meditating on a yantra, on a mandala. Someone else is meditating on the bell sound. Someone else is meditating on candlelight. Someone else is meditating on sun or moon or pole star or sea or sky. All are very good. But in Kriyayoga, we meditate on our own Prana. In our own Prana. Why? Why we choose our own Prana? Because our mind naturally merges with our own Prana. Every day during deep susupti. In susupti, what happens? Presently we are awake. Our sense organs are working, our organs of actions are working, our mind is working, and there are vrittis. Then we go to sleep and enter into dream state. Physical body is not working. Physical body is lying. But you can walk to a different place in your dream. You are not speaking, but the dream image is speaking. You are not listening, but the dream image is listening. You are not working, but the dream image is working. All this is created by your mind. That means mind has vrittis. So far vrittis are concerned, there is no difference between the state of awake and state of death. But when you went to the state of deep sleep, everything is silent. Only what you know when you get up that I had a good sleep. So where they are taking the rest? Where your mind, intellect, organs means this eye is not the real eye. Something is there in your brain which is the real eye. Similarly like that. Where they are all taking rest? They are taking rest in your prana, in your life energy. Your life energy is not sleeping. If your life energy will sleep, if your prana will sleep, then they will take you to the funeral ground or graveyard, whatever it may be. So one which is not sleeping, rest are taking rest in them. When you are in a dream state, your senses, sense organs, organs of actions, they are taking rest in mind. Because mind is creating all these things. Otherwise, how it will create? But when you are in deep sleep, all are taking rest in life energy, life force, prana. That is why in Kriyayoga techniques, prana becomes the object of meditation. Life energy becomes the object of meditation. And to start with, we start with our breath. Prana, vayu. Nowadays, some people are translating breath as a prana. Breath is not a prana. Breath is a prana, vayu. Prana is your total life energy. That is why concentration is on prana, and to start with, we start with the prana, vayu. Then there are other things. Other things means mind is such, you can call mind is like the spoiled child of a rich man. It is not satisfied with any one thing. It will want other supports, like toys. Who is spoiled child, if you go give one toy, will that child will be satisfied? He will want more toys. If you don't give, then he will snatch it from his brothers and sisters or cousins. And then he will break that and again ask for one. That is like the nature of our own mind. So we have to give extra support. That extra object for meditation is our, also within our own body. That is taken on the basis of where from our mind works. What is the hardware for mind to work? Brain and spine, central nervous system. That has been taken as a second one. Then by practice of our ancient rishis, they found that there are certain points where the activity of life energy is high in the spine and the brain. That is called your chakras. That is called kamalas, lotuses or whips, chakras. There are some people who work with 7, some with 8, some with 9, some with 13, various things. But on 7 there is unanimity. We took those 7s. At the base of the spine, Muladhara. At the sacrum area, Swadhisthana. At the lumbar area, Manipura. At the dorsal area, Anahata. At the cervical, Visuddha. At the medulla, beginning of medulla, Ajna Chakra. And entire brain is called a Sahasrara. Now we have so many things, so many toys to give to the mind, to play with all these things. So based on the breath, then subtle prana, then chakras and the central nervous system, and exercise is given to the mind. You can't go on your own doing something, just do as I am giving you the field to play. In this direction I am giving. A module has been created. And to help that, there are certain bandhas and mudras. That is what the Kriyayoga is called. And the present Kriyayoga that we teach has been given in the 1861 to Yoviraj Sri Shyamacharana Lahiri by a Himalayan yogi, normally we called Mahavatar Babaji. And then there are from Lahiri Master, there are various branches nowadays. So this is the practice of the Kriya Yoga. for the self-realization. There are how it works on the physical body, on the body physiological process, and that will be a separate discussion. I think I should stop here. If someone wants to ask some question, you can ask.
This is a good opportunity to ask questions, really. Yeah.
Now to learn these techniques, we have a tradition.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the Kriya after effect?
That means how it works in the body.
No, after you do Kriya
Yes.
successfully, the self-aware state that you have,
Self?
where you are aware of your own self.
Yes.
So the state that you reach, because Kriya has
No state you will not reach on one day.
No,
First
fine.
thing we are practicing to silence our mind. Then it goes through various states. As I said, first the state of Dharana, then the state of Dhyana, then the state of Savitarka, Nirvitarka, Savichara, Nirvichara, Sananda, Sasmita, and finally Asampragyata. All the states vary. Your knowledge of the yourself, it will descend on the final one. But you are progressing and progressing. You will have better control over your senses, better control over your mind, and will be able to withstand difficulties, sufferings in your life. Maybe previously one suffering, you are going into depression for 1 year. Now you can come up normal maybe after 10 minutes or 1 day. So stages are not just one stage. You will go stage after stage.
I think Nihar was asking about yato vacha nivartante
Aprapya
aprapya
manasasa.
manasasa.
Yato vacha nivartante. That real state is not able to describe, because to describe you need your intellect and the speech. Intellect and the speech cannot correctly describe that state.
I have a question. You were saying that the real surrender will not come until one realizes the Purusha. Right?
Purusha.
So then, generally, Indians, we do bhakti. We go
That
to
is
temple and
emotion. That is a sacred emotion. That is not bad. That is a sacred emotion.
Right.
That is not a real surrender. We emotionally surrender ourselves, our activities. That is also a practice. That every day something I do, something I think, something I speak, I surrender to my Ishwara. That is also a practice.
So now, as part of, if somebody does some Vedic chanting, things that we practice and all we can practice, right? So that one, how does it lead one to progress,
The two words may be chanting one syllable. Now verbally chanting or chanting in mind. That chanting is an activity. That means you are keeping your mind actively with one syllable. That is like holding one thing. But if you are not doing that mechanically, then that will not work. Some people, that is why there is a saying of Saint Kabir, माला तो करने फिरे जी फिरे मुख माही मनवा तो चौदिगी फिरे ये तो समीरण नहीं. Your rosary is moving on your hand and your tongue is moving inside your mouth and your mind is moving everywhere. That is not. If you fix your mind with that, then that means that you are staying in one vritti. Like meditation. So chanting, japo is a valid practice. If you, everything, even meditation, whether we are doing correctly or not.
So when you say correctly, meaning like concentrating on
Concentrating on that sound. Concentrating with that sound. It has different, that has also stages. Like first you will start with Vaikhari, articulate speech. Then we will go to Madhyama, what you call Upangshu Japa. Upangshu Japa means your only the lips will vibrate, sound will not come. Then next you will do it in the mind. Both are mental. The Madhyama. Then we will go to the stage of Pashyanti. Then you are not doing the technique, not doing the practice. It is going on in your mind automatically. Without not doing, you just see. Pashyanti means you are watching. You are observing that. Then next step is everything will be completed and you will be with one.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
So when somebody starts learning new things to integrate in the day-to-day life in chanting, sometimes I'm just thinking for myself, sometimes I want to learn this, I want to do this, and sometimes I feel like I know this as an ego thing. How do we make sure that that doesn't become identity or ego?
Whatever we do with the eyesight. Even the practice we are doing with the eyesight. Without that eyesight, if that has been finished, then there is no activity is required, no practice is required. So what thing is that? With that we are doing hundreds and thousands of things. Now we are making a practice. I am doing something, whatever I have done in my life, that has a impact. And that is cropping up, and accordingly set my life and going cycle after cycle. Now when I practice something, here I am utilizing my eyesight, but with a sattva quality. Now this has also imprint in my mind. Now this imprint will try to obstruct the other imprints that I have accumulated. And when it will outnumber that, then only the things will be done. It is not a very easy thing. That it needs hard work, it needs continuous continuity, it needs perseverance, then only it will happen. Anything else? I was talking about the tradition, how to learn these techniques. The tradition is that to learn these techniques, first we have a vidya, initiation ceremony. There, the practitioner takes some vows. Some vows like, I accept the tradition of gurus as my gurus, number one. Number two, I will practice daily. Number three, I will reveal the techniques till I am permitted to do so. Means till I am not an expert on it. And I will live with purity in day-to-day life. So, for that some ceremony is done. People come with 5 different flowers, some fruits, 5 different fruits. Some fire ceremony is done. Then some touching the chakra points, like that. Some rituals are done. Then the techniques are taught. Then one has to practice that.
If no one is going to ask a question, I am going to ask one. Guruji, could you touch on the fourth thing you said about purity of life, that Yama and Niyama. Now, I mean, how important it is to be 100% on that?
That is the first foundation. That is why Patanjali, while describing yoga, when describing, he first talks about Yama, then about Niyama. Yama means sanya. We have to have control over our sense organs and organs of action. Yama means the Lord of death. If we don't follow, then we will be always going through the cycles of birth and death. So Yama is the first thing. Purpose here is to stop the vrittis. Okay? Now, suppose I will become violent. I will have jealousy. Then I am developing negative vrittis in me. So how I will stop? Just 1 hour I will sit for stopping the vrittis. The rest of the time I will go on doing. If I want to do not practice satya, if I am not truthful, can we have forget about yoga? Can we have a good relationship without truthfulness? We can't have it. Then what will become the life? In normal day-to-day relationship in our family, forget about all these higher things. If we are not practicing austere, non-stealing, we earn by corrupt means. That means we are increasing our greed and greed. So just maybe 1 hour I am sitting for meditation, I just go 1 step forward, then 10 steps backward.
Right.
So these are the very foundations. Without this purity, following the rules and regulations, all this practice, simply think that I am doing the technique is not going to take anywhere without this.
That is exactly what Guruji. That's exactly. I've heard that if we do Kriya Yoga, automatically Yama will happen.
Automatically, if you have known,
Or Yama will follow.
If you have known dhyeya, technique is a tool. Tool can also be used negatively.
Yeah.
Can be used. You see, in the history of our ancient Puranas, there are demons. And most of the asuras, they are good, they are very good in penance. Very good in penance. But ultimately what that penance gave to them? Boosting their ego. And then doing harm to the society. Because intention from the beginning was not good. Intention, I may be practicing for realization, but this, someone else will practice, no, if I will practice this, I will have a focused mind, I can grow in my career. Objectives should vary. So that is why, from the beginning, why it said Yoga and Sasana, in the beginning of Rishi Patanjali. Now I begin the discipline of yoga because it has certain preconditions. The quality, what we say, the student must qualify for students. Is there is qualification? If that is not there and is practicing, it can create harm. Simply that I say, no, I am practicing technique, it will, everything will automatically happen. It will not happen.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying all that. Any questions, or can we end the session? All right.
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Okay. Sorry. Well, thank you everybody again. Thank you so much for coming. And and participating in this satsang with Swamiji. There is some packages. I think that Smriti might want to provide
There's
them.
there's some dinner, 3 pots. If you would like some more, we also have extra to put in there to help yourself. We've got plenty of food. You can eat it here. You can sit outside
You can
anywhere.
do whatever you like.
Anywhere on the
Meaning there is
property.
there is a the food is in the package. You pick up a packet, eat here, eat outside.